No, I was just about to say that I need to go to the bathroom again because
I'm glad you interrupted because there's a bug on my wall, like a weird, like creepy crawly that one, like a spider I can let go, but this I got to kill this thing.
You kill that thing. I'm going to the bathroom.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And it's been a little while since we've had the trifecta together, guys. We're missing DJ still, but he's a loose cannon. We'll see him once in a while these days. I've been waiting for him. Exactly. I've been still waiting for him, and I'm gonna give him another week or so to get in on the Dungeon Deathball conversation. Oh. But if he's not in on that, I'm talking about it without him. But we just had Matt Glanville on the podcast recently, and we talked about Dungeon Deathball a little bit, but that's his most recent game. But I've been playing a ton of that. But if you like tactics, like into the breachy stuff, but kind of a little more arcadey influenced, I definitely recommend this highly. It's definitely Matt's deepest game, but and again, we talked about it a little bit on the podcast last week. If you're curious about kind of more his insight into that game's design a little bit, we talked about it pretty in depth, along with his other stuff. But anyways, why don't we just get into some kind of new-ish games at least while we're at it. And this game's technically not even out yet, but I mentioned it in our Discord, and I feel kind of bad because John ended up being the only one who played the demo. But I was just super excited because I know in a little bit we're going to talk about some Metroid on Game Boy Advance. And then I had seen there's this game Goodboy Galaxy that just got announced for the Game Boy Advance on Kickstarter from Hot Pengu, I think is the name of the developer, at least on Twitter. It just says Rick, R-I-K, on like the Kickstarter and everything. But yeah, this is going to be like a Game Boy Advance cartridge, but then is also going to get like, they already hit their stretch goals and everything, and it's easy to see why. Like this game has like some of the most expressive, like we're talking like Wario Land 4 expressiveness on the pixel art, like just really like juicy,
massive
bubbliness,
sprites.
Massive sprites, but like they're like real, like it's not like that wiggly, like Baba Is You jiggly quality, but like just like, I don't know, when the character you play that is like this dog, this good boy, if you will. I think his name is Maxwell. And you like run around and I don't know, just like even like your little astronaut helmet on your head just feels like it's real squishy and like,
it's super
I don't know,
cute.
the animations are just really expressive, and I did boot up the demo just for like a brief second, and again, you can play the demo right in your browser, which is really impressive. But I did actually like play it, boot it up on like an emulator, so it runs like straight up on Game Boy Advance hardware. But they are like they hit the stretch goal for like an enhanced version that's going to come to PC and Switch. That's going to have like more like full widescreen resolution, couch co-op modes, and like just some features that would be tougher to implement on the Game Boy Advance. But I know, Randall, I think you like, I threw this up there and you're like, oh hey, I backed this on Kickstarter. So what is it, just like the immediate charm of, because I know you didn't even check out the demo. Was it just like because I know you're probably the biggest like supporter of the homebrew scene. Like the retro homebrew stuff. But it's so nice to see how that has just kind of like gone from NES to kind of Game Boy to like, we're just kind of moving along the timeline.
I love it though. Like, especially the cartridges, right? If a new homebrew retro inspired game on cartridge
that I can pop into my console that I had as a kid.
Oh my god, it's amazing. I love it. I'll just never get sick of that. And there've been a slew of Kickstarter things like that recently, so like I had to back this. I had to.
Yeah.
I do just want to interject and say I'm not comfortable with calling Game Boy Advance retro, but even though I know it super is.
You better get used to it, because like even like Wii is considered retro at this point, which is I have a tough time with that, but like I mean, yeah, Mario Galaxy is like over 10 years old. You know? It's like, and not that 10 years is like the threshold for retro, but you know, you could have played this as a younger kid or young adult, so it feels retro. You know, you can be nostalgic about it. So,
and we know there are some fantastic Metroid style games on Game Boy Advance.
Definitely. And what did you think? Being the one that played the demo here, John, what did you think of this one, feeling it in action? Because, like, again, even just seeing it is like one of those, not just the art style, like you can just kind of tell, like, this is made by people who know what they're doing. It looks like it's very polished. Like, just right away, you get that sense of, like, this is made by people who know what they're doing, and they're making this with love and care.
Yeah, and like absolutely, you can tell right from the demo that they're like trying to show, like, because this is a standalone demo. It's not like, oh, here's the first level of the game. It's this kind of a prologue or episode 0.
Yeah, they called it like chapter 0.
Yeah, so cool.
It's
great. I love that. I wish every day. I get why it can't be, because that's a ton of extra work.
Right.
But I get it's almost like, hey, here's a prototype. It seems like for Kickstarter, it probably works really well. Like, here's a bunch of cool mechanics that we hope to implement, in a full game in the future.
And it kind of also, like, I think, I don't know, it crams a ton in. So, like, I'm pretty sure, like, they're trying to introduce, like, every character that you're going to meet over the game. So, like, it also just, you're going from, like, screen to screen, and then it's like, oh, here's a whole new character that I'm sure is going to have, like, an entire level or, like, power-up or mechanic that they're centered around. Right. But, like, it just feels like there's going to be so much content, and it almost feels a little overwhelming, to be honest. But, like, it's still, like, you can tell, like, from the get-go, like, oh, there's so much that they, like, really care about and really have put a lot of attention to, and that I do think is going to be spread out over a much longer like period. But they're showing off a lot, and it is cool. Like, it's fun.
Yeah, it seems like they are going for, like, to the best of my knowledge, it is going to be like an open world Metroidvania kind of exploration platformer, and it seems like kind of perfect fit for that. Again, like, I really like playing like those in handheld form. I know that it kind of seems counterintuitive. Like, it kind of seems like, oh, this is like a little bit of a longer game. You want to explore and kind of spend time with it, but it just seems like it's the perfect game to, like, boot up while you're laying in bed or laying on the couch and listening to a podcast, and, like, let me just get to the next checkpoint or beat a boss or just grind a little for, if it has a leveling up aspect to it, which I don't know if it does, but I'm always a little bit scared. I was saying this to DJ the other day when we were chatting. I was like, we've talked before, John, about, like, how we, like, both kind of like Metroidvanias, but we like them for different reasons. But I was just like, with Metroidvanias, I was like, if they're too heavily inspired by either Metroid or Castlevania, then I don't think I'm a big fan of them. Like, I need them to kind of be like more Gato Roboto style, where it's like, oh, here's like a world that's all interconnected, but it really is just like 4 or 5 levels that are kind of centered around one specific ability or power up that you don't, like, you're not really backtracking a ton. You're just kind of like getting a new ability and unlocking the next area.
Interesting you say that.
I know we keep giving you these gold transitions, but I keep wanting to, like, interject and add more. I'm so sorry for derailing this, but, like,
no, that's what we're here for.
I only played, like, a little bit of the demo, like, because it's a demo. It's not giving a huge, like this is what the game's going to be, but, like, I was getting very strong vibes of Sigma Star Saga.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if either of you played, and that
rings a bell. The name for sure rings a bell. It rings a Racket Boy bell, if you will.
Yes.
But it's not a Metroidvania, so, like, I don't really know why I was getting such strong vibes from this demo for it. But, like, that is a top-down dungeon crawler and R-type. Like,
right,
because there were 2 modes in that game where you would, explore, like, this over isometric view overworld, and then you would get into these, like, shmup, like, R-type games.
It's almost like a Guardian Legend.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. That was what I was searching for. John was talking.
I was going to say Legend. Blaster Master, and I was like, no, we were talking about that earlier. That's the wrong game. It's Guardian Legend, where there's, like, top-down kind of Zelda levels with, like, a huge sprite kind of Blaster Master style, and then not side-scrolling levels. There's, like, kind of top-down shooting levels, shmup levels.
And, like, that, it's kind of, I think that was the vibe I was getting from, like, anytime I was talking to NPCs in, like, this demo, was that I was like, oh, this kind of feels like in that story section, because Sigma Star Saga had, like, a bunch of different endings that you could have, so you would make different dialogue choices and, like, do different things in the game, and that would give you different endings in the game, even though sweet. I just love that era of GBA games.
I know.
Well, and they had those huge sprites, and it was kind of like set in outer space with kind of like wacky aliens. Like, it has, like, I see what you're saying, definitely, with the vibe. I've never played the game, but I've definitely, I know which game you're talking about, and it does look fun, and I'm glad you actually reminded me of that game, because I'm sure it costs a fortune now if I'm trying to collect it as a retro collector, but,
well worth your time if you can get a hand on it. I really enjoyed it.
Man.
Yeah. But it's another game that I really enjoy that Randall's played.
Yeah, I think we teased this even a little bit when Randall and I were chatting, just the two of us a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
But yeah, Randall, you've been playing some Metroid Fusion.
I have.
And kind of getting ready for, I kind of forgot because I booted this up a while back.
Yeah.
And I forgot that Metroid Fusion is Metroid 4.
It is.
And then obviously Metroid Dread being kind of announced as Metroid 5. Like,
which is awesome.
That was kind of a big deal. Like, I'm not the biggest Metroid fan. Like, not that I like want to like them really bad, but I just I haven't gotten super into the series. But like seeing that Metroid Dread is Metroid 5, it has that extra.
I know, it's awesome.
I need to check this one out. I need to play this one. I can't just let it go by.
Yep.
Like, what are they doing next with Metroid? Like Prime, in my mind, I can just kind of, that's a separate series. It's
yeah.
Although I do want to play those too.
Yep.
Takes place.
Yeah. You played all the way through this, right, Randall?
I did, and I actually didn't even play it in preparation for Dread. I was actually searching through our Discord because I swear, John, that I asked you what I should play next, and there was a couple of games, and one of them was Fusion, and you said
it
Fusion.
Sounds like me.
Maybe I made that
yeah,
up,
that's
but
a John
I swear that happened.
I think I tell everyone as a default to play Metroid Fusion.
Well, I'm glad you did, in spirit or in real life, because I did before they even announced Dread, and yeah. I was
nice.
Playing it, I have the cartridge. I've owned the cartridge forever, and just for whatever reason, it's just been sitting on the shelf, and finally popped it out and started playing it on my Game Boy Advance SP and also the GameCube Game Boy player.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with my little Hori controller and stuff, because I was able to get that stuff before. Again, it was impossible to get, not a fortune.
Yeah.
But I feel like I also should give some context on my history of Metroid, because it's not much. So my history with Metroid is a little bit odd, where it's one of my earliest gaming memories, as far as buying a game in a store. Like my stepdad at the time took me to KB Toys in the mall, and I just saw the cover of that game, and I want that game for my Game Boy. Metroid 2.
Wow,
Return of Samus.
That was not the first one that I was expecting.
I know. I was just gonna say, was it the yellow cover or the other?
Super Metroid.
Metroid 2. Yeah.
No, Metroid 2.
But that did kind of have some cool box art. That had some really cool box art.
Oh, it's awesome. Unfortunately, Metroid 2, being on Game Boy, the color palette and general obtuseness of that game.
Speaking of massive
ambitious.
Sprites.
It's ambitious.
God,
it seems like it kind of suffered from a little bit of the Zelda 2.
Is it single screen?
It's trying to do a little bit too much, and
No, it's. I mean, from what I remember, it's been a while since I played the Game Boy Metroid 2, but it's felt like other Metroid games. It's pretty impressive how it plays on Game Boy, but being monochrome makes things very hard when, as I've said many times, I get lost pretty easily in games like this.
Even in the NES one, it's all the tiles are pretty repetitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, you add the black and white into the mix, and or the green and white, if you will. But that into the mix, and it's this is, where the hell am I? Where am I supposed to be going?
But that's okay. The music ruled, and it was one of 5 games that I had for a while, so I played the crap out of it, but never beat it, of course, because I was 7, 8 years old, and then Mario 6 Golden Coins comes out, and I'm that's the game I need to be playing. So
it's this feels more familiar.
Yeah, this is my jam. Give me that feather cap. Let me go.
Yeah.
So I didn't beat that. Many years down the road, around 2010, I finally picked up Super Metroid and played through that on actual cartridge, and I'm yeah, okay.
All the way through.
All the way through. Absolutely.
I tried. I played in the Wii Virtual Console era. I played because I was I'm missing out. This is many people consider this not only the best Super Nintendo game of all time, but the best game of all time.
Sure.
You would find a lot of people that would make that argument, and I was I got pretty far. I got to the kind of the water area.
Oh yeah.
And I had the grappling hook. I mean, I know you can kind of go, I'm sure, in a little bit of a different order, but I got pretty far.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting stuck at a point and frustrated, and waited long enough to where I'm do I start over? Do I pick up where I left off? Mm-hmm. Do I boot up my Wii U save file on my Wii Virtual Console? It's probably not. I have the cartridge too, but
Did you bomb every tile, Kevin? You need to bomb.
I probably haven't bombed every tile, and I do tend to like I said earlier,
attack
like
every wall.
I said earlier, like if I play it, or if any Metroidvania is inspired heavily by Metroid or Castlevania, it's not typically my thing. And it's like, yeah, Metroid, I just haven't fully gotten into the series, even though I really want to. Like, I love especially in Super Metroid, I love the, like, you just like, there's the little bit of like the opening cutscene, like kind of like the title screen or whatever, like where it gives you a little text and backstory. But like
Metroid 3.
You can skip that, but like you can just kind of like, if you just like when the game starts, you just kind of fly down, land on the I was gonna say island, you land on the planet, and then it's just kind of all atmosphere. Where like Metroid Fusion, which when I tried booting this up, I was like, and John was like, oh, I was like, I already got to this point in like 5 minutes. I was like, dude, it was like 30 minutes to get through the intro of this game. Like,
walk the way. Like, I don't understand how you
Did you feel like there was any like, because one of my biggest gripes in Metroidvanias is like the over story element, like we're like, we just talked about Ori a couple weeks ago, which that game has definitely like a narrative like arc to it, but it really doesn't interrupt the gameplay at all, at least from what I've played. It just kind of, you get a few beats here and there, but like you're not really slowing down the pace. Where like I only played the opening bits of Metroid, but I was feeling like, man, when is this game going to start? And I ended up giving up before it even got going, where I was like, John was like, oh, Zero Mission kind of gets more to the point. So I ended up digging into that a little bit more, which admittedly I didn't play much of that either. Yeah. But yeah, like, did you feel like you got right into the action? How did you feel about this coming in kind of fresh? Because I feel like you're coming in with similar Metroid experiences.
Oh yeah,
kind of limited.
Yeah.
Like
Super
John's
Metroid
coming in as a diehard Metroid fan. You and I are coming in as like, I like Metroid, but
not true. Like, if we can digress real quick.
Yeah, please.
Fusion was my first
you.
Metroid game.
Ooh. Okay.
And so I started that thinking, and like, I don't know how much we're going to drill down into the actual story of Metroid, but like I went into this game thinking, oh, this is very in media res. Like, this Adam character that they constantly reference has probably been mentioned before in all the previous 3 Metroid games. Right. Turns out he has never been mentioned before this game.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Fusion feels very different. Like, even in like the look of it, like, and I really love the look, like the color palette, that like the purple, blue, like neon.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really makes that Game Boy Advance sing. Like
it does.
Is the Game Boy Advance a 16-bit? Is it 32-bit?
It's closer to it's 32-bit architecture technically.
I was gonna say it definitely feels more like a 32-bit game than a 16-bit. Where I know it was kind of pitched as like, this is a Super Nintendo handheld,
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely feels like it's pushing it a little bit more than other games, But both Zero Mission and Fusion, but Fusion in particular kind of capitalizes on like a new art style.
Yeah. But no, like I hear what you're saying about the story at the beginning, and yeah, it does talk at you and with you, a decent amount at the beginning.
And bear in mind, this is me talking. Like, I'm the person who, like, every video I make of our games, I'm like, okay, here's the cutscene. Okay, I'm going to skip that and get right into the gameplay. Like, that's anger. I want to know when I'm playing by myself, I'm going to get a little context. But like, I do just want to play the game.
Totally.
I do get. We've talked before too ad nauseum about like Zelda, like Twilight Princess or something, where it's like, this is like a 2-hour tutorial before you can even get into the game. It's like, I almost want to make a save file after I get out of that segment and like leave that for like, if I ever want to play this game again.
I think that's fair. Yeah. And
like
it didn't throw me off, but I guess I knew going in that was a common complaint. So I knew to expect that too. So, maybe if I was like virgin experience with it, having heard nothing, maybe I'd feel slightly differently than I do, but it didn't really bother me. And then not to spoil too much, but that does not persist the whole way through this experience.
Okay, you're speaking my language now, because I kind of was shied away because I was like, I hope I was worried that was just going to keep interrupting the flow of the gameplay, where like I really loved, even though Super Metroid I didn't love the game, like I loved the atmosphere and being lost in that world. Like I wanted to keep exploring. Like I was actually pissed when I got stuck, because I was like, man, I want to keep seeing more of this planet. Like I just want to keep adventuring,
Yep. I'd recommend you try Super Metroid again. I know that's probably many moons ago at this point, so it's
Well, you almost, depending on what you have to say here, you almost had me leaning towards playing Fusion and like starting there, and just because I did make a save file after that, all that cutscene stuff.
What I will say is, I think they streamlined the control in Metroid Fusion quite a bit as compared to, previous entries.
I like to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still built on the foundation of Super Metroid, but it just feels better, like the way they handled like shoulder button control and things like that just feels better to me.
Yep.
John, what are your thoughts there? I know you have thoughts.
Like I think Fusion and Zero Mission are the two best controlling 2D Metroids by like a long shot. Like
you're saying a lot, because Super Metroid, I really don't like how that game feels.
It's actually I think Super Metroid is really clunky, and like
I agree.
I honestly think the 4 face buttons are really hard to navigate, and not in like a way that is intuitive, like putting run on a separate button instead of just being an automatic, like the speed boost in Fusion handles so much better, and like the spark jump, I don't remember what, it's not an actual technique, but when you are doing a speed boost and you duck or you crouch, then you can shine spark, that's it. And like it's a unofficial, like the nice thing about like Super Metroid is that like there are the friendly animal creatures that teach you how to use these secret techniques, like wall jumping.
The wall
and
jump,
the shiny spark. So like they're not like official things that the game tells you how to do, but the game does tell you how to do it. And like similar in Metroid Fusion, like there are puzzles that you kind of need to know these techniques in order to beat. So like, but like one thing that I actually really think is the biggest strength of Metroid Fusion is the environmental storytelling. Like from the first moment that you see the SAX, like that, and like then you just start seeing like remnants of it, like destroying the like environment around you, and it doesn't necessarily tell you, or you kind of expect it based on the briefings that you get when you enter each area. But like, and then
I think it's a horror game. Like
it's such a great horror game.
It's a horror game.
God, I love it. And then when
with bright neon colors, which I really like. You guys are selling me more. Like I'm more prone, unless you're going to talk me out of it, Randall, I'm more prone to boot up Fusion again and give it another try.
You could totally do that. Yeah, you could do that without
I am Super Metroid, because I feel like, again, like you're saying with the controls, like it just felt a little more fluid. That was always my, like, and going to, not that we've played this yet and we're recording this a little bit before it comes out, but Metroid Dread looks like it's kind of running on that same feel of the Metroid 2 remake that came out on 3DS. And it looks very fluid, very like quick and like dynamic, where like and reactive, where like the other games are a little more deliberately controlled. At least to me, they feel
well. And it's also built on the vibes of Metroid Fusion from that horror perspective, seemingly.
And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just going to mention a few of my favorite areas to you, Randall. Did you beat the game?
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh, you can spoil, at least for my sake.
No, I'm just gonna
warning, or
the first time you enter Pyre area. The first time you enter Arctic area, like the first time you enter Nocturnal area, like just so many like really vivid and like memorable moments that happen in that game. Like, it's one of my favorite. Like, it is one of my favorite games of all time. But like in terms of like narrative, like, and just like the way that going through the game feels, and like it does it without even telling you, like, there's just so many good moments. I fucking
and then when it does talk to you, over time, I think it just adds context, but it's not annoying. I think it just adds to the eeriness.
Because it's very clear that you're only getting one side of the story from the actual like story that you're being told.
And
like, I like that, like a little mysterious, like,
and it's in direct, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like opposition to the like actual, like the stuff that you're experiencing in the game, and like having both like the story that you're being told in the mission briefings versus what you're seeing in the environment is there's
a dissonance there.
What a fucking great game.
Yes.
Because that was my problem. Like I said, I went to Zero Mission right after, and I was like, okay, this is getting more into the action, but it is more of just a remake of the NES game, and it feels like that a little bit. It doesn't have that like extra like character that Fusion had, with like the kind of new style. And
haven't played it yet.
You haven't played any Zero Mission?
No, I think I'm going to go Dread, and then I'm going to go from the beginning Zero Mission, and then Samus Returns, the 3DS remake of 2. I think I'm going to go that route.
And was what prompted Fusion? Was it just like, hey, I'm done with school and I want to finally like play something I've been meaning to play for a while?
Yeah, and then John may or may not have told me.
Phantom John.
To play Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm
so glad
John might sneak up on you. He might sneak up on you.
And I'm also so glad you liked it, just so I have some vindication.
I think it's excellent. There's the only thing that I would nitpick it on. Like, I guess there's 2 minor nitpicks. One of them is out of its control. Which I guess I'll say first. Like, the first minor nitpick is that in comparison to Super Metroid, I felt like sometimes it was a little like visually claustrophobic as far as like the vertical space you have. But that's just a limitation of the aspect ratio of the Game Boy Advance. That's not anything to do with them. And they still made a phenomenal game with the limitations of the hardware, so I can't blame them for that.
Yeah, and that also makes me, to not sidetrack, but like that makes me super excited for like the Switch and PC version of Goodboy Galaxy that's going to take advantage of like, hey, we're making a Game Boy Advance game, but we're also going to make an enhanced version that's like going to be 1080p and whatever, full screen and all that.
100%. The other thing, and this isn't just a Metroid Fusion complaint, because I have the same complaint about Super Metroid, is the boss battles are kind of bullshitty. They're kind of like, the bosses look super cool, but and the vibes are awesome, but the actual fighting of the bosses is kind of bullshitty.
What, you mean that like there's cheap, one place like that you can go in the Saris fight where you'll never get hit the entire time?
yeah.
You just have to be patient.
Yeah, you're kind of looking for a way to game break it, because otherwise it's just kind of a lot of jumping around and feeling like you got lucky or not in a given run. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely more areas with regular enemies that I dread more than the actual bosses in that game.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I would agree with
I feel like in Metroid, when I've experienced more with Super Metroid, I guess. But I feel like I get overwhelmed by just like the onslaught of enemies like respawning every time I go into a room. More than the bosses.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm very much anticipating Dread, the sequel to this game.
Dude,
so that's
excited.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, so I guess that does it on our Metroid talk for now. Although I'm sure at least one of us will be playing Dread at some point.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll chime in on that.
2 of us.
Although who knows how? I'll pick it up eventually, but I still got to play my WarioWare first, which should have arrived today, but I haven't gotten it yet. But I'll get to it eventually. But the demo was really fun.
Yeah.
But anyways, John, we went over to Mikee's the other day, and actually we originally kind of went over there for kind of another Warhammer 40K tabletop session.
Yes,
and I find it really funny, like every time we go over there for that, it seems to be like the last priority is like to play Warhammer. So anyways, so first we were like kind of, and we were kind of chilling, like our buddy Glenn is moving out to the West Coast, out to Seattle actually, Randall. So we were kind of doing some like last minute hangs and stuff. And Mikee was like, I kind of forget that he has this VR set up all the time, and we were like, can you hook that up to the TV? And he was like,
he was super pumped. He's like, you know what we could do? We could play some Half-Life Alyx.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we ended up just kind of like, he had played through it all the way, and we just kind of picked some random chapters. Like it was more like kind of similar to how we did. Like the only other time I've ever done VR is when we talked about it on the podcast at that Krypton Lounge or whatever that place was called.
Yeah. Who knows if that's still
at the
around.
Mall. Yeah. Probably not anymore. Yeah. Certainly not anymore. But that was kind of my only experience. And we kind of did this in a similar fashion where we all like strapped the headset on for 20 minutes or so and each picked like a chapter of the game. Or actually, Mikee just kind of picked a chapter and we just kind of walked through. But like,
before you get into the game, which headset are we talking? HTC Vive? We talking Oculus? What are we talking here? Do we know?
I actually don't know, but knowing Mikee, it was a good one. It was definitely a good one.
Okay.
And it was...
But this was,
I don't know which one it was.
Computer. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was like tethered to the computer.
Yeah.
It was. I don't think it was Oculus. I think he has
probably
either a Vive.
Yeah.
Because Oculus is like like that's the processing thing is in the headset.
There's
right?
different
They make
models.
a standalone one, but I think they make regular ones too.
They
but
do.
I think it was the one that has like where the controllers are kind of like they both are like little nunchucks almost.
Yeah.
Like Wii nunchucks with like the little halos around the top of them.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the Vive. I'm pretty sure because we
it
used
took
the
us
Vive
forever to like figure out what the buttons were because they were like there's a button for each finger.
Ooh.
It's really shockingly tactile to me at least. Like so like even just putting like your thumb on the joystick, so not like pressing it like L3 or R3, like pushing the joystick in as a button, which is a thing as well. But even just like as soon as you rest your thumb on the joystick, like your hand that's like floating kind of in midair or holding a gun or whatever you're holding, like your thumb will clearly kind of move down and grip the thing. And then there's like a separate button for like your kind of like index and middle finger, and then another button that's more for like your ring finger and middle finger. So like you're really like, you know, there'll be like a thing, and obviously things are like not realistic in a lot of ways, like where here's a thing on the ground and I can just kind of like highlight it by kind of pointing one of my hands at it, but then like you can just push a button and like kind of pull it towards you, like almost like the Force style, you know, like Star Wars or whatever. And then like, but then you have to like press a button at the right time to like catch that item.
And that was something I could not master. So I was getting things but it flung at me and then I wouldn't catch them.
Well, it does still take that quick second of like, I am like like it feels so 1-to-1, but at the same time, like you are still pushing buttons and like doing control inputs, you know? So like it feels like you should just be able to like, I'm just going to move my hand to where that thing is and I'm going to catch it. But like, I do have to move my hand there and push a button to catch it. Like I can't just,
I see.
Like, so there is that extra, but like once you get that down, like, I don't know. It's what I find really impressive is like the section that I played, like there wasn't any really like combat going on too much. But even that's, I find really cool too. Like the combat, like looking at your ammo clip, like you actually like look at the gun and like look at where the ammo is, like, and like
reloading,
if you drop like reloading, you like pull a clip like out of your shoulder pack and pop it into the bottom of the gun. Like they added in a lot of like the actual like feel of reloading. I mean, I've never reloaded a gun in my life. Like, you know, the feel of like, it's not just push a button and drop a clip and have a brand new one at your disposal.
Unlimited,
you know? It's like, and if there were bullets still in that clip, like they're gone now. Like, it's really, but what I find like so impressive is like the part that I was playing was like, I was kind of like doing like a puzzly, like lever pulling section, and like everything feels so tactile, like the weight of things, like I'm like kind of like grabbing like this robotic, like pretty heavy like machine, you know. It's like, you know, it's like a lever that I'm like I'm grabbing it with one, like two handles with each hand and like pulling it up over my head, but like opening a trunk of a car kind of motion, but it like the thing I'm lifting like looks really heavy, and it's not doing anything to make it feel heavy. Like there's no like tactile force feedback or anything, but it just feels like I'm doing it. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like the only thing they really haven't nailed, and I understand why they haven't, because I think it's like a motion sickness thing, is like the movement. Like you're not just walking around freely. You're kind of like highlighting a spot on the ground and like warping there, and it works pretty well. Other than when you're like, I warped like a little too close to this thing, and like I wish I just had a button to like take a step back or something, but instead you have to like teleport over here and then like turn around physically. Like it can be a little bit tedious, but I'm sure if we like were playing through the whole campaign and getting used to the controls and not just playing for 20-30 minutes and passing it on, it'd be a different experience. But like even the reloading that like was like a bit of a struggle, I'm sure if you're playing through the game it can be super engaging. But yeah, I could hear Mikey like getting frustrated, like you're just supposed to pull it out of the backpack, like just pull it out. Like we're just like, I don't
you're
get
loading
it. You're
too
just
low.
Throwing
you need
it on
to reach
the ground.
higher. It's a higher.
Yeah. But it's like, but again, like, yeah, there's that weird, like the gaminess comes through in like the weird, like specificity that you have to like do things in like a very specific motion or way or order or whatever. But once you kind of get that down and it becomes second nature, like it really does feel And like every time I've played VR, the 2 times I've done it, I just think like, man, I wish I had a VR setup at my house that I could use at any time, because it really is it transports you. Like if you play video games to get away from the world, I mean it really takes you into another world. It's kind of shocking how well it does it to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the most immersive thing was honestly just turning around, like making a 180-degree turn and like having your entire perspective shift. Like, even if you're not like, you know, moving forward like you would, like, oh, I'm not walking forward and I'm suddenly walking forward in the game.
And you can do that a little bit within the small
within like the
space.
box.
Yeah.
But like just turning around and having your entire perspective change, I was like, shit, this feels so real. Like,
you're in there.
Having the camera tethered to like your head movement is just so crazy, because it really is that is 1-to-1. Like, you know, whatever angle you're looking, whatever direction you're turning, whatever height you're crouched at, like, I mean, it is like 1-to-1 on every level, and that it's really cool. I guess like I'm finding like stuff like super hot when we played, like where it's like, okay, the conceit of this game is like kind of making me stand stationary. Like,
right.
It almost makes me just wish I could play like Time Crisis in VR and just be like, you know, just put me in the world of the game. I don't necessarily need to be the character. Just give me that over the shoulder perspective, but like, let me feel like I'm in the world.
Yep.
I don't know how disorienting that would feel.
Like a Turok in like the back of a Jeep.
Like that just seems like it would be amazing.
Give me that.
All day long. And it is like, there's that weird, and I think Mike even said this too, is like it does still have that feel of like it's a novelty to an extent, but it's only because there aren't like, you know, Half-Life Alyx is kind of like the killer app, if you will. And then like there are cool stuff, you know, like we talked about Beat Saber, and like there's definitely some cool experiences that you can do within VR, but like there's nothing, you know, there's not like enough to justify, not to mention that you got to have a super powerful PC to run it. Like Mikey does, his PC is no joke. Like, you know, looks like a mini fridge.
We're at the beginning of the learning curve.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm excited. Like, we're like, when 3D stuff was coming out, like I definitely remember feeling like, oh, 3D TVs, I definitely don't care. But there was like a small part of me, like I could see it being cool in a video game maybe, but like I didn't really care that much. Where like VR is like, this is the real deal. Like if I don't know, like
it will be once enough time and effort is invested into it. Yeah, and I am pretty excited though, because it was fun to like experience that in the comfort of someone's home.
Oh yeah,
as opposed to like at a Krypton VR lounge.
Yes.
So yeah, it was really cool, and very gracious to Mikey for letting us check that out. And thankfully, hopefully you guys will play Warhammer again. I don't know. It was getting a little testy by the end of that match. So
we're sore losers. And we were
not having
good
are we
rolls.
even having fun? Do we even like this game?
Do we like each other?
That's not the point.
Yeah, we got to settle it in a battle.
That's right.
But I'm sure we'll talk more Warhammer and maybe more VR in the future. We'll milk Mikey for what he's worth on that VR headset. So
yeah.
But why don't we, John? I think you've talked about a little Pokemon Snap, new Pokemon Snap in the future, but we've got a couple games photo related to talk about here to close things out tonight.
Yes, sir. So Pokemon Snap somewhat recently had an update where they added new courses, new functions.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a whole slew of new content added to that game.
That's like Nintendo's MO these days. Let's put out a game and then like pump out more stuff for it.
It's one good thing they're doing.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking that with Mario Golf, and granted, I'll shit on that extra content all day, because if they keep pumping out crap, I don't care. But like, you know, it seems like they've done that quite a few times now, where even Breath of the Wild was like had like big DLC packs and stuff. So
yeah. Oh God, there's Hyrule Warriors DLC I haven't even touched that I purchased. That's another story for another day.
Man.
Well,
we're just waiting for that WarioWare DLC.
Yep. We're talking new Pokemon Snap today, and a thing that I was kind of frustrated with when I was first, even though I still really liked the game when I first played it, was that like the progression was very slow. Like it really, like even though, you know, each Pokemon that you took a picture of had a 1-star to 4-star pose, so you can only submit 1 photo per run per Pokemon. So
that's
at the very least, you need to do 4 runs. Like if you are perfectly getting a pose every time, so there is a built-in necessity to replay levels, and like the leveling up, like even though each level has various stages, like, oh, this is a level 1 stage, and then once you've taken enough photos, then you gain enough experience to unlock a new mode, which is great because you're playing the stages with new Pokemon and new positions, and like it adds a level of replayability. But it is kind of a forced replayability where they're like, you need to do this. Like, it's not you want to do this. And that was a little frustrating when I first played it. But with enough distance, played through it that, like, oh, actually, I'm going to backpedal and complain a little bit more because there are, oh, God, I just played it. Why can't I remember? Like, there's special, like, boss stages that have literally 1 Pokemon, and that stage lasts like 2 to 3 minutes, and that's still same limitation. You can only submit one photo.
What?
At the end of the boss stage. It is. I have basically not replayed any of the boss stages because it sucks to sit through.
What's the point of that?
A boss stage.
The whole fun is like seeing a little new thing that you might have missed.
Yeah,
you know, your previous
and then you can still only submit 1 photo at the end. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so
and what does a boss thing entail? Like, is it just like
it entails
Charizard
going along
popping out of a
rail
volcano or something
and seeing do a couple different poses, and you have to get the poses right in order to get the 4 different stars. Anyway, the nice thing about not playing it for like a month or 2 is that when you go back, you're like, oh, I wonder if I can just play this thing that I had played a million times before, and it still feels kind of fresh. There are plenty of things to do. So like there is, like, if you're not obsessively playing games like I typically do, where I'm only playing one game over and over again, like having it in little doses does make the game better, which it might be an indictment of how I play games than necessarily how the game is.
Well, no, you got to make it fit into your, you know, the way you like to enjoy things. So.
Yeah. But like the new stages are great. I unlocked more areas, like the sheer amount of areas and Pokemon and poses and different areas that the Pokemon appear and the different actions that you can interact with and like see them, like it's such a charming game. Like,
that's cool.
Like how much did they add as far as like new courses go? Because like I know in like Mario Golf, for example, when we talked about it, Randall, like they had just added like the new, like 1 new course and like a new character. By the time this episode comes out, that may have even changed, but at the time it was like New Donk City.
I honestly don't know because I hadn't reached like I hadn't completed the game before they added the new material. So I know that at least there was one new stage that they added, but I feel like it may have been more because like I don't know if like when I unlocked an entire new area on the map, if that was already built into the game or if that was one of the additions. But
free DLC, I'm assuming, free or paid. Oh, cool.
Free.
I'm always like, that's awesome, but I'm always like curious to like, how is that financially, even when, before we were recording, like DJ and I were talking about, or I was talking about how DJ and I were playing Kingdom, new, or 2 Crowns, and like they keep updating that game, and there's even another new update coming out. And I'm like, they're all free DLCs, and like, is every time they do these, like, are they selling a bunch of new copies of this game? Like, what's the draw of doing that for? I don't know. I just don't fully understand unless every time they update, maybe like more people are like, oh yeah, I should get Pokemon Snap.
Consumer sentiment.
Yeah. But it's cool. And Pokemon Snap seems very like a good fit for that kind of DLC, you know, like, we'll just add more cool stuff. They have like millions of Pokemon to pick from. So
exactly. There's tons of nice times that you can have in Pokemon Snap.
I like nice times.
And if you don't like nice times, a great game is the other photography game that I had been hotly anticipating before its Switch release. And as soon as it was, I picked it up, I think, day one, which is Umurangi Generation, which is a first-person level-based camera or photography game.
Wow.
Where it controls a little bit more like a first-person shooter. It's not on rails like Pokémon Snap, but it
some like Fatal Frame vibes going on here. What's going on? Like that's
I've never played Fatal Frame, so I'm not sure how much. Like it is a lot of like positioning yourself, like and like getting things in frame, and like there are different zoom lenses that you get and different flash photography. But it is first and foremost a photography game set in a, I wouldn't even call it post-apocalyptic, but it is a current apocalyptic.
Sure. Yeah.
Like while it's happening, which honestly I feel like is an underserved, type of media or genre of media. And like one that I honestly feel is very applicable.
Relatable.
To current life.
Relatable.
Sadly relatable.
I don't want that.
Sadly relatable, but also in a way that
it is what it is.
But it's not like it is. I think it is a uniquely like setting wise game, like
because it doesn't look very bleak. Like it has like a very kind of like pastel kind of like charming, like if you just took a quick glance at it, I'm like, oh, this looks like a sweet little visual novel game or something, you know?
That's exactly why I think it's so effective and why it's so good, is because I think it captures more accurately than like any other game that tries to like paint dystopia or anything, like how it feels to live in the current like world, where it's like there is a lot of disaster constantly happening around you, but there are like people just hanging out, like listening to music on the street while there is like police brutality happening around you, or like the world on fire.
Yep.
And like it doesn't make like there are so many levels that are either like very bleak or very like grim that are immediately followed by, and they feel completely natural with like, okay, here's just us hanging out, like in like maybe a government checkpoint. It is a little bit more heavy-handed in terms of like the reality, or like more militarized or more restrictive than like, you know, and it's also sci-fi based. So there aren't aliens everywhere. And like but like it feels so much more realistic than a lot of, I don't know, dystopian or like post-apocalyptic media feels, in that it shows that like life goes on in disasters. Like bad shit happens constantly, but like, you know,
instead of like we're the last two people on Earth in this overgrown version of New York City,
right,
with, you know, trees growing out of the buildings. Like it's been there, done that. Not that it's not cool. Like Nier Automata does it. Last of Us does it.
Yeah,
so, you know, it's been done in many cool ways.
But it just feels so real in a way that like actually understands how like I don't know, the world responds to a crisis.
Yeah,
in that,
just got to keep
like,
living. Yep.
Yeah,
you got to be like, I'm my own person. Well, all this shit sucks around me, you know, that I can't do that much about.
Yeah. And also, it's a really good photography game. Like, it feels really fun. Like, you are given these objectives at the beginning of each level, and there's kind of a timer that you have to, like, ideally, if you want to get the maximum points, like, you take all the photos within that time limit and then deliver the, like, documentation to a specific point. And like, you know, you're always hunting around to get these objectives where you're like, oh, I need to get all of these items in frame, or like make sure I'm getting these specific areas photographed. And then there's like extra objectives on top of that. Like you have your 4 friends, and there's always an objective to get all 4 of your friends in a shot together.
Okay.
And your 4 friends include the penguin that like... So, like, the first time, like,
Danny
I was
DeVito.
like, And all it says is like get a group photo shot of all your friends, and like I took it of just like the 3 humans, and that objective didn't like get triggered, and then I like zoomed out a little bit and got the penguin in it, and then I was like, hey, you got all your friends in the photo. I'm like, this rules. This game rules so much.
And is that the only like interaction you have is taking photos? Or I mean, do you like go up to people and talk to them and stuff? Or I mean, can you do other stuff? Because it did look a little bit like when I saw the clips, like, I just watched like a trailer or something. I don't even remember what I watched, but like it looked a little bit like a first person like platformer a little bit. Like, and then you saying like it's like level based. Like it looked a little bit like this game Sludge Life that Devolver put out recently, that like kind of like first person platformery, and it's more like roaming around and exploring, but like with it's not like the platforming's not the focus or anything, but it's just like
the platforming
part of the mechanics
is there to get you to be better positioned for photos. Like there have been a few like areas where it's like, oh, I need to get like 11 solar panels in this photo, and like where I'm like normally can get to, I can only get 9 in. So I do have to do like a small bit of platforming in order to position myself in order to get all of them in. But it's not like it's not like platform heavy. It's more like
you're not Mario.
Yes. And like the platforming is a little janky. I would say that's probably the weakest part of it. But
first person platforming is always a little rough.
Yeah. Especially when there's a lot of like small, like narrow, like planks that you have to navigate in order to get to it. And I'm not sure where my feet are and if I'm going to fall off. But it's not.
If only it were in VR. If only it were VR.
It's like talking about Turok like we were earlier. There you go.
Yeah. But it's not like so dependent on that like it prevents you from like you can always again like finish as many objectives as you can and like finish the level. Like it's unlocking like new filters on your camera or new zoom lenses or new flashes. Like there's so many different things that are not necessarily like required in order to advance, but you just, if you want to get all the objectives, like you replay the levels a couple times.
Nice.
And when you say level, like how long is a level roughly? Because I was picturing it being like a world, like a all interconnected world that you're exploring, but like you have me even more intrigued than I already was by saying it's like level based.
I feel like it's actually been a minute since I've played it, so I feel like 8 minutes to 10 minutes per level is probably
okay.
So like there is a lot of exploration, but like the levels themselves are pretty small. Like
that sounds odd.
Yeah.
Even more up my alley. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of like exploring the level, because I think the second level actually is the one I had the most trouble with, because I think still trying to figure out mechanics and figuring out what like objectives meant, because they're a little tongue-in-cheek and like trying to give you more abstract ideas, and you have to figure out what they want in the photo, and it's really
it almost
easy.
Sounds like it's got a little like Untitled Goose Game in its DNA.
Yes.
It gives you like a checklist of like, oh, it's like kind of like
here's the end point, figure out how to get there.
It's almost like a riddle. Yeah. It's like, oh, I got to figure out what this means. How do I like fuck with this kid?
It is, I do think it's very easy to accidentally like complete a checklist. Like you're photographing something,
that's awesome,
and then you just accidentally get like 3 objectives in one.
Love it.
Yeah, but it's cool. It sounds like it's almost like little like dioramas, almost like little vignettes.
Yeah,
like
it's a great. I really enjoyed it, and like there's plenty of it's. Everything that you save, every photo you save also gets saved on the Switch to your like gallery of like screenshots. Nice. So it's so easy to upload. Like it's really great.
Wow.
Yeah. It looks really cool, and I'm glad you like kind of brought this game to our attention, because like at first glance, like if you just see like the thumbnail art for the game or whatever, it's really easy to look like, oh, here's another like anime inspired JRPG, and kind of write it off. Like it's really easy. Like it doesn't have any of that pastel like kind of cool look to it. Like it almost has this washed out look in the game where like in the art it's just like this black, white, and red. Like it has like a little bit of a generic like thumbnail art, which to be honest, I think almost every game suffers from that, like their little capsule art.
Yeah.
Like I actually saw a discussion on Twitter of people saying like, oh, never use pixel art in your capsule image. And I'm like, dude, I'm so sick of seeing like the main character of a game exploding out of the center with all the other characters surrounding them. Like I'm so fucking sick of that. It's like every fucking game. I can't tell you how many games on my Switch I'm just looking at the same image. Mm-hmm. It's sad.
I think Sonic Mania might have the best tile icon, but we're way off topic now.
I'd have to scroll. I got a lot of games on my Switch.
Yeah,
I have to
me
look
too.
through. But
I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of what the best one maybe Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is sad how much that actually draws me to like playing a game. The thumbnail of like, oh yeah, I haven't played that. Like I'll just be like, oh yeah, let me boot that up.
It's like going to Blockbuster back in the day and just picking a movie off the shelf.
What catches your eye? Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people have
Not
marketing budgets.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. There's a reason books have covers. But yeah, I think we can probably wrap it up there this week, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We're on social media. I've actually been pretty much ignoring Instagram at this point. I don't even post on there anymore. So I post occasionally just to say to follow us on Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, we're everywhere pretty much. So just give us a follow. And yeah, it's been great having all three of us back for a little swing of things. So I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I'm having too much bubbly rosé, but
fun.
We'll catch you next week. And until then, take care, everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Did you kill it?
What's that?
Did you kill it? That took a while.
I got it. No, I got it. I refilled my drink too.
That works.
When I was up. Oh yeah, it was one of those like I don't know, like
house
centipede. I
fucking hate those, man.
I haven't had one in a while, although I did have something like scamper across my floor probably a week or so ago, and I didn't see where it went. But
no, I hate it. I love my current apartment because I haven't seen a single roach, house centipede. Like all I've seen are spiders, and those are usually already been maimed by Regis.
I've seen a couple roaches in my day, but not too bad.
I saw them a ton at my last apartment, which was...
It grosses you out. It's just like
it's bad
like
news.
Stink bugs. I had so many stink bugs at my last apartment.
Huh.
Which I'd never seen before. Like
I was gonna say,
growing up, I never saw them.
Yeah.
Those house caterpillars will fuck up other bugs, though. Those dudes are like apex predators.
I know, but they
so
fucking
fast.
freak
They're
me
nasty.
out, though.
Yeah, they're gross.
They're too fast.
They're
very
so
damn
fast. Ugh.
If they were one or the other, I could let them go. But yeah,
like that's why I love spiders, because like spiders, like I can deal with. Like spiders
I'm pro spider too.
Fast.
Yeah, I'm pro spider.
Yeah, I can usually every now and then I'll kill one, but for the most part, I'll try to like scoot them outside, or
I will
get them on a piece of paper and like, or just ignore them. Like, it'll be gone. Like
if it's up on the ceiling, I don't care. That's not by me.
Like I see it right now. I'll leave the room. I'll come back later. I won't know where it went.
If it's out here in the Pacific Northwest, though, it's not just the daddy long legs. We got some motherfuckers with fur on them, and those guys. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm breaking out the handheld canister vac, and you need to die today.
Yeah, that's
I thought you were going to say the hammer.
When a spider looks like a mammal, you gotta break. You gotta say, hey, you're out of here.
You're fighting on my territory, like on my level on the hierarchy of mammals.
You're getting too close for comfort.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, those are freaky for sure.
Yeah.
But we can probably just roll back into it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're pretty much done on that end. Anything else we needed on Metroid?
I think we ended it. I think we gotta.
Yeah.
We can just transition.
Cool. Yeah.
Into the VR.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Virtual reality.